going to talk about, it's Kieran's book. Kieran is our author for one of our methodology books. Unfortunately, he can't do a presentation at the moment because he's extremely busy on another project. But I'm going to be taking through some of the principles that he has written about in his book, which is called Film in Action, and using film in the classroom. Okay, which is something I think we've all tried. I'm not going to go through where you're all teaching because I more or less know from last time. I think a lot of you were on our webinar last time. I know more or less where you're teaching, the kind of things that you're teaching, so I understand. And also we've got some activities that I want us to do today. So it's going to be practical with you listening or whatever. Okay. We've all tried to use film in the classroom, but sometimes it doesn't go down very well, or technical problems, we might be a little bit afraid, those kind of things. Okay, so very often we tend to sort of like shy away from it, push it away, or it becomes like an end of term treat and it's put the film on and the students can watch that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through some of the principles that Kieran's written about, and then we're going to have a practical at the end, so something that you can try in the classroom with something I think a lot of you will recognize. Okay, any questions? I will try and keep an eye on the text chat, but if I do miss your question, excuse me, then just remind me a little bit later on, put it in. Is there a way of listening to last week? Or any of the webinars will be made available on the website in the near future, and we will have an area especially for those webinars and several of our webinars. Okay, so if you keep an eye on the website, and also make sure you're signed up for our newsletter. You can sign up for it on the website deltapublishing.co.uk to make sure that you get all the information. So when there are recordings put up, I'll also send an email out. Okay, so just make sure you're signed up on the Delta Publishing website. Okay, so this is a quote that I thought is very sums up the power of film and what it means to us as individuals outside of the classroom in our everyday life. It's so much a part of, you know, our free time, what the thing that we enjoy. Everybody loves watching a film, whether it be a short film or a full-length film. Very much we all have our favorite genre, we all have our favorite actors, and it really is such a pleasurable thing. And because of that, I think it is, and I think this is something that Kieran, who is passionate about film, wants to put over in his book, of how much we can bring that into the classroom and benefit from it, not just in sort of like a, you know, mechanical kind of way, but making students aware of the film and giving them the pleasure and the motivation to learn from these things that are just great learning tools. So I was thinking, when I was putting this hello Urbino, while I was putting together these slides, the first thing I thought of was that I remember when I was in Bologna, I used to use film a lot for students, because I would often tie it in to books that I was using, whether it be reading Matilda or other, what are the ones we get? 1984, I think we did. Yes, some other, lots and lots of books and things. And I would show snippets and things. But sometimes you get sort of like, oh, how many of you have said that? Or maybe that, why should I do it? The other thing is that so much choice. You think like, oh yeah, I'll use a clip, you know, where do you begin? And also some people think like, well, you know, the students should be talking, not just sitting looking at a screen. And some people think they should be better off using a book. And very often we put all these things into our head and it's like, no, I won't do it. It's too much bother. When we could be taking the opportunity to really engage students in an activity in a very creative way. So what I'm going to do is, oh, Fabiola, can everybody hear me okay? You can. Okay, so it must be. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So Fabi, um, hang on. It's just 1 second. Anyway, as I was saying, I'm going to go through some points here from Kieran's book to sort of break down how we can do our planning and think about the exercises that we can do and how we can build on what we're doing with the students to be, no, not necessarily more creative or more experimental, but just to get more out of the clip rather than just watching it. Okay. So how many of you do regularly, hello Diana, how many of you do regularly use film in the class? You do, okay. Notebook, but I can't see your name anyway. Larissa, seldom. Seldom. Okay, I do. Not really. Sometimes, not all. Yeah. Okay, there's a lot of not much and sometimes, yeah. And I presume it's for some of those reasons there that I've put. Yeah. Could be technical. Don't have the resources. Don't have the access to it. Okay. Only from the course book. Yeah. If it's inside the unit. Yeah. Yeah, I know, Laura, picking up on Lauda's point there, it's can be really difficult to find the right one. And I know what you mean. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'll do that. And you are just totally overwhelmed by the amount of choice that you've got. Yeah. And Anunciatina there saying like it takes 3 hours to watch a film. Do we need to use a whole film? Short videos, yes, more frequently, just short snippets. And that's what I'm going to be using later. Yeah. Films tend to be longer, but you can find shorter ones. Clips. Yeah, exactly. Adverts. Yes, Johan. Need activities to do. Yeah. And in fact, sorry, Patricia, the activities, I'll just show you some simple things of like, just take a couple of minutes, step back and think about, well, what can I do with this? And you can do a lot. But anyway, okay. And I'll show you an Enunciatina where you can find the clips very easily. Okay, needs to write. Yeah, we'll go through all those points. Okay, yes, louder. Right. Okay, so moving on, the main principles. These are the main principles that Kieran talks about in his book of using film, and basically, it's all the points that you've brought up here. So, careful selection of topic and content. I suppose it's like, really, what's going to engage your students? How does it connect with them? And sometimes you find that what you think they will really, really enjoy are the ones that they don't like. And the ones that you think this is going to be terrible, they're going to hate it, they love. But that's the thing with all material, isn't it, at the end of the day? And it's finding, like Antonella's just found out, motivating topics. Also, things that they might be more familiar with as well. And I've used actually the clip that you're going to see today, or you're not going to see it actually because you're going to hear it. A lot of you will have seen it because I know it is extremely popular in Italy. And my students, this was in Liceo, they were all like, oh wow, because they recognized that they could relate to it because they'd seen it before, they were familiar with it, but they were familiar with it in Italian. But when they saw it in English, it's like, wow, this whole different thing. And then realized they could watch it in English. But anyway, it's finding that thing that does connect with your students. So it might be they notice things that, through the year that you pick up on or that they are interested in, and just make a note and you can find something connected to that subject. Yeah. Okay, having also clear pedagogical goals. So, what is your aim of the lesson? What are you going to, sorry, what is it that you're going to achieve? I do apologize. And just make sure you're very clear on those. So as you're going through, is this going to be sort of like based on, acquiring new vocabulary? Are these going to be listening skills? Are these going to be skills that are going to take further after you've actually watched the clip? So it might be some project that you're going to build around it, where it would be more of, let's say, for a higher level of discussion and debate, something like that. But clear pedagogical goals, that what is your aim on this, okay? So have those clearly in your mind. Thoughtful preparation. So pre, during, after, what is your preparation for all of it? Obviously, you're not going to, you don't need to stick to this strictly, but to having some format, like you would do with any unit from a course book or any lesson in particular. Your preparation before, how are you going to present this? How are you going to, keep them engaged? And your activities. So, what are these activities? So, putting some thought into those. And as I said before, it doesn't actually need to be that, creative, in fact. It just needs a couple of activities that we're all used to, setting up. So how you set up what they're going to be seeing, what they're going to be doing when they are actually watching it, and then what your students are going to do after it, how you're going to take it that little bit further forward, okay? So again, these are Kieran's main principles for using, for how to use film, okay? Yes, exactly, Carol, exactly. Watching something that they already know and they have seen really does work well. A lot of the time, that's what I found. Something that's like, wow, they don't feel stressed by having to watch something that's completely new. It's a bit like when you go, I don't know, when you put on something, a film that you've watched before or something that you enjoy, that you've watched 10 times, your favorite film, and you can follow it, it's more relaxing. And it can be the same thing with English. When they've seen something in their own language, then watching it in English takes away that stress, and it makes them, really do enjoy it because they can relate to it more. They already know what's going to come up and they're prepared for it. You can, pre-teaching vocabulary can be an option. I mean, there's several ways to approach this, and whichever method you choose is, completely right. There's never one way of doing this, but you may want to teach new vocabulary. Exactly. Okay. Now, choosing the right film, and we looked at this before. You have to consider lots of different aspects. The language, the accent. So if you're going to be watching something like Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, which you might have seen, which is an extremely violent London-based film, or Train Spotting, for example, with very strong Scottish accents and very fast-moving dialects, etc., then you're going to come across a lot of problems. Then pre-teaching the vocabulary is going to take you a very long time. So do be careful of accents and dialects and unusual words, etc. Okay. I don't think there's actually a corpus for videos. No, not that I know of. Anyway, it very much it's you're going to choose. Yes. Okay. The amount of dialogue. Sometimes you find you've got a monologue which just goes on and on and on. Or you've got film which just tends to be so you've got 5 minutes of action and nothing else. Be very aware of that balance between the action and the dialogue. Diana, now there's a question. Which accents do you think we should avoid? I'm not answering that one. I don't think you should avoid any accent. All accents are valid. There is nothing wrong with accents whatsoever. Also different accents of English spoken. There is nothing wrong with that, but be aware that sometimes the speed, I'm thinking more of the speed and the accent might be very difficult for your students, depending on their level, to be able to understand. Now, there is an argument which says that there should be exposure to all accents and speed, etc. It's a bit like me. I remember learning Spanish to go and live in Spain. My teacher was from Chile, but when I arrived in Madrid, I couldn't understand anything. But because I hadn't been exposed to the Madrileño way of speaking or whatever. But very much, it's basically being sensitive to your students in that what they will be happier with. It's not a case of avoiding any accent. No, I don't think you should avoid any accent at all. It's a case of, just being sympathetic to the level and the ability of your students, okay? As I said, the amount of dialogue, be careful of when you're choosing a film or a clip. Now, don't forget, a clip rather than anything else. The dialogue. Now, the clip you're going to listen to later probably is 70% action and 30% dialogue, if that even. I should have timed it, but I didn't actually. But you'll see later, okay? Yeah, the complexity of the story. It's a bit like going to the theatre and you've got, the storyline going on, you've got the language, you've got the characters, you've got a lot to concentrate on. Is that going to be the same for your students if you're showing a full-length film? You might be breaking it down or whatever, but how complex is the story? You're teaching language, but also there are lots of other things that they are having to cope with, which is the storyline, the plot, the characters, whatever else is going on in that story, as well as the accents, the diet, blah, 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 blah. So we have to think about all this complexity that's going on. So it's very important to take in something like that. So if you're going to be showing them like Anna Karenina in English, for example, which is this huge, great story with all these different characters, or War and Peace, let's have another Tolstoy story. How complex is that story? No, that's a bit of an extreme, but you get what I mean. So again, these are things to take into account. Complexity of the language. So how, maybe from a case of how formal, how archaic, etc., etc. Now, this is fundamental, I think, is the length of the film or the clip, because you're in danger of losing your students in the sense of like, they'll just switch off. So clips can't be perfect. You can always set the film as homework, which now I think with access to film is so much easier than say like 10 years ago. Now to access a film that may be on streaming online is so much easier to access, but you can just show a clip and then send them away to watch the whole film or whatever. But are you going to be showing all the film, a scene, one part, breaking it down? Consider how you're actually going to use it, okay? Trailers are brilliant, yeah. Although, yeah, just thinking The Favourite, for example, I think The Favourite, which some of you may have seen, had practically all the dialogue in it, which was a really good trailer to see. But I actually really liked the film. It's very different to what I was expecting. If any of you saw The Favourite, which is the one about Queen Anne. Anyway, and choosing the right film, you need to establish, your goals, and the situation, the topic, what topic you're going to use, etc. And what's your aim in this? Is it going to be to talk about, I don't know, maybe something about violence in society or the way we live or whatever it may be connected, or it might be the novel that you have just read or part of a novel, an extract, and you're using that from up. Okay, there's a point there. Now, just to sum up everything of choosing the right film, we come to the point which is Kieran's point, is fundamental. It's all in the preparation. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to take forever for the preparation, but it's just carefully thinking about how am I going to use that. And I can't remember who mentioned earlier. I'll read that in a minute, Tosato. Just a moment of who mentioned before about using clips and films, and that's course books, using film clips that are incorporated into course books. If you think about the structure that course books typically use, will be your feed-in, there may be some vocabulary exercises before, so you're just taking the vocabulary out from your clip that you are going to use, making some kind of, it might be matching with the meanings or something like that, then the exercise that they have to do while they're actually watching, and then an after task. that's basically what a course book will be doing. You can do the same kind of scaled down type of exercise that you can use. And don't forget, you can bank it, then you can use it with your other students, you can adapt it for higher levels and things like that. So in the case of 8, don't be afraid of using film in the classroom if you have got access to it. An episode from a series, yes, Deborah, you can always do that. I'll just look at Tazato's point there. I've recently watched the film Pride. The dialogue is often uncomprehensible with subtitles because yeah, okay. I'll just mention here about using subtitles. With subtitles, they do give an opportunity for students to be able to hear the pronunciation of the word spoken. And with some, such as the film Pride, which has a lot of Welsh accents in it, London accents, whatever, it can be more difficult because students, depending on their level, are only exposed to sort of like quite, you know, standard, well, let's call it standard English or whatever, received pronunciation, BBC English, etc. They might find it more difficult. Subtitles for higher levels, try and avoid it, because then it just I think, in my opinion, it just becomes a reading exercise. Episodes taken from series are always good, yeah. Accents can be harsh, yes, it can be very difficult. Yep, the mixing, bringing in your own materials to supplement the course, but exactly. And that's Mirjam saying, yep, films they already know, yeah. As Carol says, RP, received pronunciation, although we all have accents to an extent, but don't worry too much about the accent. And subtitles can be used. Yeah, as you say, Annalisa, subtitles too much is what I've just said exactly. It becomes a reading comprehension. That's the only problem. Also, students become reliant on them. You know, we want, you know, can we have the subtitles, please? And like, you're here really trying to watch it. Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas. And then Tina saying there about, you know, the tying in the book with the film, etc. Diana, yeah, avoid the subtitles. Yep, Scuola Media, of course, you know, they're much younger, they're going to feel uncomfortable, they're not perhaps so used to watching longer programs or etc. without the subtitles, yes. Exactly, Netflix will work too. Yes, it depends on the level, exactly. Yep, you can watch once without, or you can watch without and then put the subtitles in. Experiment, see what works for you, see what works for the students. Some students, you know, if you never put the subtitles on, they can be quite happy and follow it, no problem. And you can go with what they want. Yep. Okay, we're going to move on here. Okay. So as one of you said before, you can pre-teach the vocab, the phrases for discussion on the topic. Now, I'm not going to be pre-teaching anything. And I wouldn't, if I was showing this clip that I'm going to show you, which I'm not going to actually show you, well, I will do the second time. I won't do any pre-teaching whatsoever, because that's not part of, you know, the exercise that I'm doing, because I'm changing it a little bit, okay? But yeah, you do the normal thing of, you know, maybe you've been reading around the book, you know, if you've been using the book in class, you might, and you're going to be showing a clip or the actual film or an episode, let's say, you bring back, who are the characters? Who did we like? Who didn't we like? Who was the bad guy? Who was the, you know, good guy? What, you know, how did it start? What was the main plot of the story? All these kind of things. You build up with this, get them doing that in pairs or in groups. So they, you know, mapping out everything that happens. Okay, we're going to be watching this little bit from the story, something like that. So their previewing task can be anything like that. You can do the usual multiple choice or your gap fill. It could be, is it going to be grammar based or is it going to be vocabulary based? So you're going to be testing their grammar. Yes, or you're going to be pre-teaching the vocabulary, as Ignatius just said there. You're going to be teaching anything that might be unusual, absolutely. I'm just looking what Ursula said. Okay, yeah. So that's another thing, like Ursula has said there, having the resources, sometimes you just don't have, you don't have Wi-Fi connection, or you don't have the, you don't have the big screen, or these kind of things. So there might be limitations. Yes, that's always a problem with using film. However, we can try and overcome those in some ways, and everybody huddled around your laptop can work if you've got a small group. Even with a big group, I've shown on a laptop before. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Oh, hang on. Yeah, preparation for previewing. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I've just done that one. Here we go. Preparation for post viewing. Here we go. Sorry, just 1 second. So your goals, again, how you're going to be using the language. Will it be written or spoken? Are you going to set them some kind of task where they have to discuss it or write about it? Are they going to be, how they're going to reflect on it in some particular way? And how are you going to do these? Is it through some kind of projects? Is it just going to be discussion on it? You can get them, especially if it's something quite emotional, how their feelings were about it. Just trying to think of which was it. I think it was Matilda, actually. I used that in school in Italy once, in Matilda. And that was with a first year of I don't remember now. Is it biennio or triennio first? Who can tell me? Which one is first? Biennio or triennio? Biennio. The first year biennio. Thank you. Okay, I was teaching them and we did Matilda, and they were like, wow, we're too old for this. And they're like, right, we're going to do Matilda anyway. And they did it. They loved it. But the emotions that came out because they were reading and really getting into the characters of all the different students, and they were talking about these quite happily, quite freely about, sort of like the feelings of Matilda and her friends, and the teacher, Miss Honey, isn't it? Yeah, etc. And they really got into the characters and the feelings as a discussion, and creating their own little film. I mean, there is, and I'm not going to go into filming, which they can do because there are always issues around filming and privacy and blah, 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 blah. So I'm not going to actually go into, filming your students because I know that some schools will not allow it, etc. So I'm not going to go into that. However, they can write their own dialogues and create their own acting part that they can perform as well. They don't need to perform it in front of all the students. They can do it in little groups with each other. Yeah. Yay. No, it's not if, when. It'll be when school starts again, don't worry. Okay. The choice as well. Do we go for feature length or short films? Now, again, yes, and role-playing louder, yeah. Do we go for feature length as in full length, or do we go for short films? Okay. And I'm just going to put up these. This is basically to get you thinking. And these are all, don't forget, I've taken these from Kieran's book, Film in Action. And it's up to you. I've used both because the feature length, there are many novels which have feature length films tied to them. It depends on the level of your students as well. They really get into the language that is used. And it can be something special as like for the end of term, or sort of like as a reward that they've done. And you can also give it to them as homework, okay? And also you can break it up across the term. So you might be following the book. So for example, To Kill a Mockingbird is another one that I used as well. And you can break the film up so it follows book, film, book, film, book, film. Yeah, and yeah, the end of term film, exactly, Carol. In Kieran's book, and the only problem with a website to find activities about film, Kieran has some in his some links, but links change all the time and sites change all the time. So it's very difficult to say, but I mean, YouTube is the open access source, okay? Let's move on to short films. They tend to be, yes, the less commercial ones. So you get sort of like, Kieran in his book talks about the fact that you'll get more sort of like, maybe around environmental topics or topics which are, you know, they're not the big blockbusters that you get in the films. More topics which may be about, you know, things happening now. More experimental films. Yeah, documentaries, those kind of things. So it might be, you know, the ones that you find. Yeah, films for TV also tends to be shorter. So they might be, you know, an hour long. I would say sort of like they're more sort of like the documentary type films. They make them more accessible, and they tend to be more fact-based. So they're very good if you're doing a particular topic. I'd say CLIL-based type teaching. So you can find those, okay? This is some, now moving on to a point here. Yeah, I haven't got time. And it's very much, and something that's absolutely brilliant is advertisements. This can be a whole project that will last, I don't know how long, as long as you want it to last, really, because you've got so much that you can do about, you know, discussions, you can get them to the adverts as well, are very easy to access. They are all on company websites, YouTube. You just basically have to look for the product. Company websites are very good if you want to find adverts. They are absolutely everywhere, and you can find them in English, no problem whatsoever. You just have to Google the product or something like this and try and get it from the let's say the UK or Australian or, you know, American site or whatever. You can find the adverts. Some of them are quite funny, and they are really great. So you can start off with, you know, like a discussion on the influence advertisements and, you know, how they influence them. What are the products that, you know, what are the advertisements that have influenced them to buy a product? And probably, you know, they all bought their mobile phone because of an advert or something they saw. And how did that advert influence them? So also you then show them, you know, what are the words being used in the advert? What is it that they are, what is it that they use to influence you? What specific words? How do they draw you in to make you want that product? And not only that, it can also be about the visuals of it. How do they, you know, show their product? And the intonation as well. Yes, Ignacia, there's a good one there. Yeah. Oh, yes, Ignacia, yes. Does anybody remember the well-known Christmas advertisement of a well-known shop? Oh, it should be well-known shop. There's a Christmas advertisement for a well-known UK shop, a high street shop. Anybody know? And there's this huge, it's only in the past few years, John Lewis. And sometimes you don't even see a product. There's no products, sometimes. And also, Carol, yes, Marks and Spencer's. Now it's a huge competition every year. Who can do the most impactful advertisement? So all the big stores in the UK do advertisements, and the supermarkets. So all the big supermarkets, they pay a lot of money. Sainsbury's advertisements, yep. Coca-Cola, yeah. And there's even like the day when the Coca-Cola advert comes on TV for the, you know, it'll appear in the newspapers, you know, it must be September because Coca-Cola are doing the Christmas advertisement. Exactly. So all the big stores, and you can find them on their websites as well, do these adverts, and you can find them on YouTube. Exactly. Tosato saying there, yeah, all of them. I haven't seen the Levi's advert, but yeah, those adverts and the discussion that you can get from them, and they can go off and find their own adverts, you know, and really listening for the language, etc. Good. Okay. Then you can go on to have a debate. The impact, the advantages of advertising, the disadvantage, the impact on consumers. What is this doing for society? The discussions are limitless from let's say a 30-second advert. They are absolutely limitless. And then they create their own advert. Simple as that. And then they can present them to each other. They can, and we're talking about 30 seconds here. And the way that you can, set this up very, very simply and very easily. Yeah, some of the technical features too. Talking about pictures and films, yes. More description. Be aware of the time here. Yeah, just moving on here. Okay, something that we're going to do today is actually no picture. Yeah. TED Talk videos as well. Okay, so have a look at this. We're going to do more or less something based on this kind of thing. I'm not going to show any picture. You're just going to do listening. And I've got a little activity for you to do in a minute. As I said, lots of you, you might be able to do as well. So you can just play them the sound and imagine what's happening. And it might be something they already know. Now, as I said, a lot of you are going to have already seen the clip that you are going to listen to, I'm sure, because it's very, very popular. I know it's very popular in Italy. And all these things that you can do here. So they really are using their listening skills. And then you get a discussion, and then you can show the clip, etc. And then as homework, they can find a clip to play, guess the scene, etc. They can have like a competition between them. There are lots and lots of possibilities, okay, that they can do between them. Here they can actually actively produce something as well. So if you think about if you're doing something from a novel or from a reader, you've got one of your reader books or something like that, get them to find a scene that they particularly like. Get them to think of them that they're setting up, they're going to be the directors or whatever and the producers, and they've got to describe who's going to play the different roles. So one small part from a book that they're reading, they're going to turn this into a film. So they've got to think of what are the actors going to wear. So they're bringing it to life themselves. And then they can write the scripts, but they have to adapt the script from the actual book that they've been reading, okay? And then their homework, you can build on their homework, something like that. As to, a more written sort of like case of why they would actually do something. So these are points that you can, just a couple of things that you can try with your classes. So taking part of your novel and getting them to actually create a film script for it, just that one part. Yeah, and some books are actually screenplays, exactly. Okay. Now, I'm just going to move on here. Now, this is what you're going to be doing now. So, I just have to technically just change things a moment so you can absolutely hear everything. Just 1 second. Okay. Right. sorry, I just have to cancel this 1 second and explain. Right, just have to change this sound so that you can actually definitely hear everything. Okay, what I would like you to do now, a little exercise, is you are going to hear a video clip. You're not going to watch it yet. You're going to hear a video clip. I want you just to make notes, and you can then type them into the text chat. The sounds that you hear. Where are the actors? How many people do you think you can hear? What are they doing and who are they? Okay, so you're listening not only for, oh yeah, Olga, old Russian films, really, yeah, the soundtracks are amazing. Okay, they're going to have to imagine where they are, you know, what's happening, etc., etc. Okay, so that's your point there. I just need to change over the sound 1 second. You might lose this slide, so I don't know if you want to take a picture of it, because I'm now going to share just the sound. Why have we got that line on there? I don't know. Okay. Right. Can you all hear me? Okay. And what I would like you to do, you can type your answers into the text chat. So it's basically what you can hear, who it is, and what do you think they're doing? Okay, you can just type them in as you're hearing it. You might recognize the film. If you recognize the film, don't say, but you can just.
Can you account?
Okay, just 1 second. Okay, you can all hear that? Yeah, good. Okay, right. So I'm just going to play the clip now. And then I just want you to put, somebody knows the film. I knew you would. Okay. I want you just to put in what you imagine. Imagine you don't really know what this is, but think about what you can hear, okay? No, Angelica, you can't see the questions, but really just imagine what can you, or just write down what you can hear, okay? And who do you think's in the film?
Need a hand?
No thanks. Have one. Thanks very much all the same.
Just a moment, sir. I know everyone in this neighborhood, but I've never seen your face before. Can you account for yourself?
Yes, I am Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, newly arrived from America.
Oh, yes, sir. I was told you were here. Well, I'm Constable Henry, sir. Pleased to meet you.
How very nice to meet you, Constable.
Why, you're chilled to the bone, sir. A nice warm fire would be the thing for you.
Yes,
and
yes.
a little nip from the old bottle wouldn't be too bad either, would it, sir?
The tickets. Yes.
Well, if you have everything in hand, sir, I'll say good night.
Thank you very much, Constable.
At your service, sir. Always.
Good night, Constable.
Good night, sir.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. My favorite film, and I'm sure. Oh, just 1 second. We go back to the slides now. I'm sure there's a lot of you there that recognize the film, and I will show you in a minute. Okay, so what sounds can you hear? Lots of you got the sounds there. There are so many sounds going on if you just focusing on the sounds. Some of you said, sorry, I've lost the text chat. Let's get that back. Yeah, you could hear carriage. Yes, some of you know the film, so you can obviously say what it is. But we got some great ones there. You know, maybe a plane, train platform. It sounds like a train moving. Horses. Yeah. Are they at a police station? They could be, because we heard. Who are they? Yeah, it's Gene Wilder. What are they doing? So the sounds we heard, lots walking people, wheels of a carriage, exactly. Yes. So we're getting lots of that. What were those? What were they on? What do we call those that they were on? It wasn't just a normal road. It's an old road. What kind of road? And I'm trying, cobbled, yes, cobbled streets, on cobbles, all those kind of things. And they're like, what, cobbles? Explain, yes, exactly. So there's lots and lots of words that we can get there. Where are they? They're in an old town, probably. We're not really sure. Do you think it's an old town? Are they in a forest? Well, it's a cobbled street, so maybe it's going to be in a town. What are they doing? Well, we heard something, as you said, crash. We're in a small village. That's right. Who are they? Did you hear? Good evening. There was one word that came up that was good evening something. Yeah, yes, Dr. Frankenstein. So we know one's a doctor. And the other one we heard, a constable. That's right. Constable, policeman. We wouldn't rarely say like good evening, constable. No, I would say, you know, a police officer. That's right. A doctor's just arrived. Strangers. Yeah, a British accent and an American accent. There's a mixture of accents going on there. So we're really getting into the dialogue, but also the sounds that are going on there. Now I put together just a little grid, as simple as that. What are the sounds that we hear? What is the dialogue that we hear spoken? And then the people. So this is just an example of how quickly you can just put something together. The suspense, the music, that crescendo, dun, 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 yes, all that, building up into what's going to happen, yes. So I put together just a little table like this, which is very, very easy to print off, that you can then just photocopy and give out. So what are the sounds? You know, all the music, the rolling of wheels. There's so much that you can do there. The dialogue we hear, good evening, constable. The people, well, we know for sure there are two. But if we've seen the film, we know there are three. Anyway, okay. Yeah, we hear two, but there are actually three. And we'll see why in a minute. Okay, so the music, very dramatic, yeah? Building up into this crescendo thing, this rolling sound, we're not quite sure. These are the words that I picked up, just some of them. You've picked up other ones here. And putting your students together, always remember when you do, or try and remember when you're doing an exercise, like, you know, they would do this individually there, or they can do this in pairs and then put them together in a group to build up even more their vocabulary before they report back to everyone. Something drops on the ground, we don't know what it is. And also, as you also said, footsteps, although if we've seen the film, we know what drops to the ground. Yeah, dialogue, quick, need help, cold, etc. There's lots of dialogue there. Lots, not so much, remember, but there's dialogue there that we can make notes of. Two people at the beginning. Yeah, we know there are definitely two policemen, Dr. Frankenstein, and there's a policeman. You know, it's a policeman, he speaks, and he says constable. That's the language that I've picked up there. Very, very easy. So then you have to get them to talk about, can they imagine the scene? When is it set? Do you think it's something futuristic? What do the people look like? I'll tell you in a minute, Angelica. I'll tell you, don't worry. And you can watch a little bit of it. What do the actors look like? What are they dressed in? What are they wearing? Try and get all this out of them before. Just some very, very simple questions. And get them to build the scene. Naha. Yes, oh, black on Bridget, yes. Victorian style. Yeah, it has to be, doesn't it? That sound, yeah. And because we're working from home, if you can hear tick, 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 that's my dog. He's just decided to come in. It's his birthday as well. He's 6 today. Anyway, right. The whole world's working from home today, yeah? Or this week at the moment. Right. Okay. Thank you, Jelena. I will tell him happy birthday. Right. So we know they're in the past, etc. Okay, let's move on. Okay. So we can also work on the idiomatic expressions and phrases there. So I've put the dictionary definition of what idiom actually means. And here, you know, we could have a lesson on idioms. Need a hand, get them to explain what that actually means. Thank you, Maria. I shall tell him. Chill to the bone. The expression there, if everything is in hand, these are funny. Why are they funny? Well, we're going to see in a minute. They still don't know why they're funny yet, but we'll see in a moment. Maybe you already do as well. That's another thing that's quite difficult as well, is humor. Humor is the most difficult thing with language and teaching, because, you know, getting all those cultural, linguistic, etc. meanings into something can be very, very difficult. Yes. Okay. And the students might find that difficult. So sometimes it's best to avoid comedy that's not visual. Okay. So I think some of you may have guessed already. So if I'm going to go to the more advanced levels, I would go on to idiomatic expressions and phrases. Okay. Who knows the name of the film? Oh, Bobby Uniform, yes. Yes! Frankenstein, Young Frankenstein. Exactly. One of the greatest films ever made, he says. Yeah. Frankenstein Jr. in Italy, I know. So let's just take it back to the beginning. Hopefully. Here we go. Right, let's see how we got on. So now would be the time when I play it to the students and they can see. So here you can just show them the set, which I think is just fabulous. It's so beautiful. Very, very simple, and we can see that it's sort of like, you know, it's a film studio or whatever, but what can they see? Well, we've got some kind of tall building with a tall pointed roof. There's wooden beams. Not seen the film. Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah. Young Frankenstein. It's there on Young Frankenstein, Need a Hand. It's just a clip. And don't forget, with clips, you're avoiding any possibilities of copyright infringement. Yes, Gothic style, beautiful Gothic style. Okay. It should have won 20 Oscars. Okay. Exactly, yes, you can get the feeling, half-timbered houses, all these kind of things. Then you can build on what is a half-timber house, when were they built, etc. I think this, if you have access to Netflix, I'm sure this is on Netflix. Diana, I did Frankenstein as well with my students for the end of their high school time. I did Frankenstein. And very, very serious, obviously. And then I did showed them Young Frankenstein. So they were very happy. Yeah, DVD, I think, yeah, it's available on DVD. Yeah, there are restrictions with what you can show, obviously, as we have restrictions, but we can show clips. Okay, and here's the actual clip, so we can see. I'll show it to you now.
Need a hand?
No thanks. Have one. Thanks very much all the same.
Just a moment, sir. I know everyone in this neighborhood, but I've never seen your face before. Can you account for yourself?
Yes, I am Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, newly arrived from America.
Oh, yes, sir. I was told you were here. Well, I'm Constable Henry, sir. Pleased to meet you.
How very nice to meet you, Constable.
Why, you're chilled to the bone, sir. A nice warm fire would be the thing for you.
Yes.
And a little nip from the old bottle wouldn't be too bad either, would it, sir?
Let's take it. Yes.
Well, if you have everything in hand, sir, I'll say good night.
Thank you very much, Constable.
At your service, sir. Always.
Good night, Constable.
Good night, sir.
And there we go. So very simple. Yes, love it. It's one of when you're feeling like I need something funny to watch, it's the best. One of the best anyway. Yes. Carol, no, he's not. Okay, so that's just today. I've just done a very, very simple example of how you can you can level it as simple or as advanced and detailed as you want. How far you take it is entirely up to you. You know, and depending on your the level of your class and what you're actually incorporating in. But a simple clip like that can take you anywhere. Yes, Monica. Yes, you can watch the film. Yeah, is it a long? I don't. It's not very long. I think it's maybe about 90 minutes. It's yeah. Patricia says it's a must. Yeah, Marika. Sorry, it's very very funny. Yes, it's one of these. I love it. It's very funny. As are most of Mel Brooks's films. Okay, so I'm just showing you today just a couple of activities where you can take a clip and expand it, or you know, you might be showing the film how you use that film. So have you, like I did once when I was doing for the Maturità, for example, where the students had to read a novel. So we chose Frankenstein, they read it, and then it was a treat, which was there's Young Frankenstein, then we talked about it, etc. Another class of mine, we did Frankenstein, then we did the traditional film, and then we did the court scene, where they reenacted a court scene. So there are lots of possibilities that you can do, okay? Okay, right. Just 1 second, okay. If you would like okay, I think it's the very easiest way to do this. So that's just to mention as well, this is the book, Film in Action, which is by Kieran, as I say, Kieran Donaghy. Okay, right. This is one of his books, which is from our Delta methodology series. And there are loads of activities of how you can use film, okay? Right, I am now going to show you all the different areas where you can, and I need to share this link. 1 second, this is going to take a couple of seconds to copy and paste the link. I think probably it's going to be easier to do this. If you would like a certificate, and just 1 second, and the slides. Please can you email me at info@deltapublishing.co.uk, because we can't send you, I can't send you the things through here. Don't forget, you can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. On our website, sign up for our newsletter so that you can see, I'll just show you that. We do have more webinars. I'll just show you where. Here is the Delta website. Okay, here, if you scroll down to the bottom, you can sign up for the newsletter here if you haven't already. If you would like a certificate and the slides, then please can you email, and it's this email that's here, info@deltapublishing.co.uk. It's this one that's here, info@deltapublishing.co.uk. Okay, I will say that because of the situation at the moment with teaching and schools, etc., what we're doing, we're looking at our webinar program at the moment, and we're increasing it and changing different things. So the best thing to do is to sign up for our newsletter, and or if you're not doing that, look on Facebook or Twitter, follow those, because we will have a lot more webinars coming up in the future. But at the moment, we're changing things. So I'm not going to give you a list. We have some, but we're looking this week to drastically change what we're doing because of the, the changes in what's been happening. Okay. Barbara, I did send out to everybody last week, but if you can email with a different email address, not libero.it. Okay. Thank you all very much for attending, and wish you all the best in these very strange times, but it will be, as we say, it will all be all right. Okay. Take care, everybody. Thank you all very, very much. And thank you for wishing my dog happy birthday, who's scratching at the door.